ahead and just kick this call off with some recognition. So put your clapping hands together, starting with Team Win. And I apologize already. I'm definitely screwing up this name, but Yevgenia O'Leary, a brand new manager. Congratulations. That's amazing. Top enrollers, Laura, Michelle Stanton, Sean Sapasi, Joanna Self, Valkyrie Wellness, Kaylee Varga, and Janelle Rogers. Absolutely amazing. Dreamers in Action, brand new consultant, Danelle Stratton. Top enrollers, Laura Laurie, Christina MacArthur, Michelle Wall-Weber, Emily Sutherland, Jeanette Seller, Danielle Stratton, Kathy Durnick, Tamber Betts, Laura Oching, Ashley Davis, Leah Miller, Kisa Maxwell, and Jenny Thompson. You guys are amazing. So fun, just weeks out from Christmas, and we are just crushing it. So excited and so motivated. Just a couple things before we get into tonight's team call. You guys, a lot of us just got back from Mexico. I know you saw a whole bunch of people down there from Team Win, a whole bunch of people down there from Dreamers in Action. And I will tell you, it is so fun to be a part of Isagenix. Like the things that people say, like when we talked to people that were not in Isagenix at the resort, that they said, I don't know what you guys do, but man, you guys look good. You know, I mean, Erica or Brandy, Holly, Jess, if you guys got that, like type it in the chat. Jamie Lynn's on here, you know, they would be like, you guys are amazing. Like I've never met people that are so positive. They go, every time I'm in the elevator with someone from Isagenix, like you guys are so friendly. And I just thought, it's such a compliment, you know, that we just literally can walk around lighting other people up, you know, perfect strangers, just showing up in the world in such a vibrant way. But one of the things that I heard twice that I think is so profound in the way that we just work together and we connect together and we collaborate together is someone who had been in another company and then someone else who had been in another company, but they said the same thing, different people. They said normally at incentive trips like this, the leaders, the like top leaders, you know, 6-figure, 7-figure leaders are like untouchable. Like they wouldn't have access to like the average like business builder, which seems so strange to me because I've only ever been in Isagenix. And they go, I can't believe I'm like at the same pool as like the top earners. Like normally they wouldn't pay attention to us as if there's like royalty and like pageants or something, you know? And I'm like, what? Like we're all just the same people. We all put on our pants the same way. But I just think it's so fun that literally the people who got enrolled 30 days ago that qualified for that trip and people that have been with the company for 10 years and make 7 figures and everything in between were celebrated and just being able to learn from each other and grow together. And you just saw everyone wanting to help each other. You know, someone say, Lauren, tell them what you're doing. And I'm like, and did you just record me while I'm in my bathing suit? Like I generally don't like to be recorded in a bikini, but she was like, it was so good. I'm like, okay, fine. And then all of a sudden I have my friend Renee and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to record you. This is so good. And just to be a part of people that want you to be better without any direct of how it affects them. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. So I'm also going to highlight somebody right now, and she doesn't even know that I'm doing this. So this is how much I love her. But if you guys know who Jenny Thompson is on this call, put a 1 in the chat. And if you don't, put a 1 in the chat because you're going to get to know her. But she has what I call burning desire. And she's messaging me last week a little bit. And she's like, hey, so I'm going to go through and do that thing that you've always told me to do. And I was like, oh, what's about to happen? Because I probably told you to do a lot of things. And she's like, I'm going to comb my tree. And I am going to tell them how much volume they're sitting on or how many members they have in their organization that have come in since then that they have not enrolled at all, and do a group message and basically see if they're interested in learning more. Not only is she obviously trying to create some consultants, but just trying to get some people who she's probably never really talked to interested in the business. And I'm like, go, let's go. This is my favorite thing in the world to do. Like, let's be busy. Let's vision cast. So it's the night before I go to Mexico. Laura Laurie had flown in from St. Louis to stay with me so we could fly together the night before. And we're running around, you know, getting a spray tan, getting our nails done, like the last things before the trip. And I'm like looking at my phone a little bit and I'm like, oh, she's real busy. Like she's real busy. And I'm like, I promise, I swear, you know, I'm going to get back to all of them. Like I'm usually pretty quick with like the group messages and ATMs. And I ended up, you guys, I mean, she sent me over 100 messages, like I think 75 to 100, something like that. Laura and I were trying to figure it out over text and Messenger. And she did, we wrote a script together. And Jenny, if you have it and want to put it in the chat, I would encourage you to do that because I think a lot of people are going to want to know about this. I voice memoed them all back because I wanted it to be a little bit personable. So she's going to send you exactly what she wrote of how she was reaching out to them, telling them who was in their downline or how much volume they were sitting on and how we could turn these points into holiday cash. And I just went in there and I was like, oh my gosh, Kari, I am so excited that Jenny introduced us. I'm like, you have 498 people in your organization and you don't even know one of them. That's bananas. I was like, we're going to get you on the phone. We're going to show you how to pay these amazing products forward that you're already obsessed with because you've been ordering every single month for, XYZ amount of time. We're going to show you how to get your next order for free and some, because everybody I know wants bonus cash for Christmas. Like, I'm headed to Mexico. This is when I can chat. Let's hop on a quick call. You guys, Jenny booked me out basically from 1 to 8 p.m. Like, the only time we're not talking today was this call because of all the people that had such an interest in it. And you could see, and we have 3 people on the team call tonight that we talked to today. So one of the things you got to do is get your little cute booty on the call on Monday nights. Like, this is where it shows up and people are doing it. And so I first want to applaud her for taking the time to comb her tree and do the messages. But I want to encourage you guys all to do this because I think we get sometimes like, I have to post, I have to recruit, I have to post, I have to recruit. We have a lot of people already in our team that you've already recruited. Like, work with the people you've recruited. They're already bought in. They already love the products, and show them how to eat for free. Show them how to empower their story to, ignite other people that want to do this. And I'm telling you, not even one person was like, oh, it's coming up before Christmas, I don't think I can do that. They were like, I can make money for Christmas. Like, let's go, let's do it. And these calls were 20, some of them 30 minutes long. Like, they weren't long, just to be able to cast the vision and show them what's possible and walk them through the next basic steps to get their products for free and share it. So I'm so freaking proud of you. And I really, really encourage a lot of you guys to do this. Now, if you need me to do your calls, Jenny has booked me until December. No, I'm just kidding. But I would love to do it, but any of us can do it. Laura can do it. Anne, Brandy, Jess, Holly, Janelle, there's so many great people that can do it, but it's really, really fun. And for people to just be able to see like, oh my gosh, I'm not selling anything. And oh my gosh, that's so easy. I can send that script out, or I'll be able to put that post up. I mean, we're having so much fun with it. So Jenny's been with us, for over 6 years. She's a 2-star. She's amazing. And I was like, girl, this is your ticket to 3-star. Like, let's go. This is going to be amazing because people are so excited. So the second thing I wanted to talk to you about, if you guys are going to NYKO, you're committed, you have a hotel room, you have a flight, you have your event ticket. I want you to put a 2 in the chat. And if you don't have a 2 in the chat, I love you, but I'm talking to you right now. Okay. You need to, before you get off this call, put a 2 in the chat, because NYKO is going to freaking change your life. So I know that there's some different things that are happening, and vaccine, not vaccine, I can travel, kids, whatever. I get it. If you are unable to go, because I'm never going to make you feel badly about the choices that you have to make for your family right now, you need to watch it virtually. And you need to make sure you have someone come over and hold yourself accountable, then watch the event virtually, if nothing else. Now, we all suffered through the pre-recorded trainings and had to watch that for the last few events, because even though they were amazing and the quality was amazing, it's a little challenging to just sit there and watch something that was recorded 2 weeks prior. I said, at least this live event, you're going to be watching the live event. So if you're streaming it, you still get to see the energy and everything that's happening, which would be great. But live is best. Jessica talked about it last week. I mean, Janny literally was bribing me. She's like, I'll buy you whatever you want from Lululemon. Like, here's my Amex. All I need you to do is get the girl from Philly to the event. I'm like, the terse one, the mean one? No, I'm kidding. But we weren't friends then. And I was like, you want me to get that girl that hangs up the phone on me to go to Philly? I wanted the Lululemon, right? Janny knew what the event was going to do for Jessica. And what she said last week was so spot on, that we literally sat by each other when Alexis Romano came out. She was recognized as the 100th millionaire. And she's like, what are we going to wear on stage? And I'm like, stage when? She's like, what are we going to wear when we train the first time? And Jess was dreaming so big, but she made me dream big. Because I'm like, this woman thinks I'm going to be on stage. Like, she's crazy, and we both have, and more than once. And we have taken people there. And maybe your goal is to train on stage. Well, then you better be like a seat in the audience if you ever want to be a seat on stage. But even if that's not your goal, you see so many people that you connect to. I mean, being corporate trained, we couldn't train you in 2 years every single Monday night. We couldn't train you in 2 years, 5 nights a week of what you're going to get in that day and a half. It is fun. And spoiler alert, our team parties are going to be together. Jess, I hope you're okay that I'm saying that. But Shrudi's planning one big party for both these teams because we're working so closely together, which is going to be amazing. And Anne and Holly and all of our yellows can doll it up and make it all the fun that Jess and I don't want to do, but we're going to be together Saturday night. We get to meet in person, we get a hug, we get to toast each other, we get to celebrate like the insane amount of enrollments and recognition, that these teams have had. But you're going to connect with people, and I will leave you that you're going to make some amazing friends. I mean, I had 2 brand new girls with me in Mexico that have new friends in this company, because as much as we love each other on Zoom, when you can hug each other, when you can connect, you can talk about your kids, you can talk about your pets, whatever it is, it makes it real, And some of my very best friends in the company, I told the 2 girls that were with me over and over, Jamie Lynn Curley, Renee Schreibman, Jessica Ragner, and I met in St. Thomas 7.5 years ago. None of us even knew how we won that trip. If you had told us on that trip we were going to be millionaires in the company and have some of the biggest teams in the company, none of us would have bet on ourselves probably. Like, we had no idea what we were doing. And, 8 years into it, and someone's like, what's the best trip you've ever been on? I mean, I've never felt so dumbfounded in my life, because I was like, oh my gosh, all of the places Isagenix has taken us, from the events and the incentive trips. And it honestly started with going to an event, going to a corporate event, seeing what's possible, dreaming so big, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, filling your cup, learning from the best of the best. I just told you we were poolside, and someone saying, what's the message you're sending out? What contest is your team really going for? What post is really working for you? Some of the best events, the best conversations at events have happened in the bathroom. Do you guys have any idea how many times I was like, oh my God, I got to sneak out and I got to go to the restroom real fast. And like 20 minutes later, I'm like by the hand dryers with Kathy Coover and Emily Vavra. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gold. Like, I'm so glad I came to the bathroom, and that's only going to happen if you get there. So put 8-10 people in a freaking hotel room, do whatever you have to do, caravan there, get on standby, but it is worth it. I know Holly messaged me. She's like, she's got some tickets. If there's a will, there's a way. If corporate says that tickets are sold out, people in the company have tickets. You just have to say, I'm going to go there. I am not missing it. Get out of my way. 2022 is my year, and I'm going to get my butt in a seat in Phoenix. So that being said, can you guys tell how excited I am? This is what happens when I'm around my Isagenix family. I'm like, let's go. I was thinking, like, what are we going to do for our team calls? And Jess and I have said, like, do we want to do our team calls for the holidays? Like, sometimes we have a break and we're like, we are not taking a break. Like, these teams are freaking freight trains right now, that if people want to show up, we're going to show up. And if they have cookies to make, we'll have the recording. And so we've been trying to really think about some really good calls towards the end of the year that could be really applicable. And I listened to a podcast about, I think, 2 months ago, one, ironically, that Jenny Thompson had sent, that I love. And I have heard so many different things about, get out of your comfort zone and how do you grow and all these different things that happen, and design your schedule, and you have to have a morning ritual and time blocking. And we've all heard things like this. But when I heard this podcast, and if anybody wants it, I'm happy to send it to our group threads and the leaders, and you guys can all get it out. We'll post it in the team recording. It's about 21 minutes if you want to listen to it. But the day I heard it, I was like, that was good. Like, that was really, really good. And ironically, so I'm in a group thread with Laura Laurie, Paige Stoyle, Jenny Thompson, myself, and my friend Robert. And we each have a day, and we send a podcast Monday through Friday to each other. We take the weekends off, and we type our takeaways in there for accountability, personal growth, right? And the day it came in, I remember thinking that was good. And I also was like, I'm doing those things. Like, I had this moment that I was like, all right, I'm on the right track. But another friend who had listened to it was like, dang, like, I need to really like up level some things. Like, that was a reality check. I'm not where I want to be because I'm not doing those things. And since then, I've shared it with a lot of people. I have the 7 of them listed out in front of me. I always am like a little bit of a reflection. Am I the best version of myself by these 7 things? And that's what I wanted to share with you. So the podcast is 7 things that successful people do that unsuccessful people don't. And the first part of this that you really want to think about is that when you're like successful, right? Remember, that's just not like one decision. Like, something didn't just happen. It was like, oh, I'm successful. This is the sum of all of the teeny tiny traits that add up daily, right? It's all the unsexy things. It's mastering the mundane. It is like being so committed to doing the same things over and over and over and over, that then ultimately get you to where you want to be or you don't want to be. So as an example, just to kind of put it into perspective, because I'm a health and wellness guru, We think about nutrition. We think about health and wellness, right? Someone didn't just show up one day with 6-pack abs, right? And like the most luscious skin. Likewise, they also didn't end up hundreds of pounds overweight with all these health issues, right? One day. Like those things don't happen. But it's every single day. Are you eating more vegetables or more bread? You know, are you exercising more days or not exercising more days? Are you drinking more water or more wine? Don't judge my last 2 days. I was in Mexico, just kidding, you know, but it's the sum of every single thing that you're doing that ultimately gets there. And so when we talk about like mastering the mundane, when we talk about the fact of how you're doing things consistently, these are the 7 things. So the very first one that successful people do that unsuccessful people don't, according to the podcast, I'm not judging, is they wake up early. And part of the waking up early is that you start your day very proactively and not reactively, right? We've all woken up late and it's immediately like, oh, bleep, right? Like my inbox is flooded, my messenger is flooded, and you wake up in this frenzy of like putting out fires, you know, trying to catch up with things instead of like setting the tone, right? So when you wake up early, you get your time, me time, you know, and it's not selfish time. It's time for you to set intentions. It's time for you to meditate. It's time for you to get clear on what it is that you want to do, to work out, to journal, to read. And you're going to see some of these other things that come up, but it's blocking out that time. And I remember being at an event years ago and I heard Robin Sharma speak, and he is the creator of the 5 a.m. Club. And he listed all these people that get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, like very, very successful people. Howard Schultz is in that list. You know, Tony Robbins is in that list. The Rock is in that list. There's so many people. And like what happens first thing in the morning. And I love this idea that it's more time for yourself. I love that you can be more proactive than reactive. But here's the thing that will get you, okay? The people that don't want to wake up early, the verbiage is like, I don't have enough time for that. Right? Where if you could rephrase that to, I don't care enough about that, it's a little swift kick in the booty, right? So when you start to restructure your day and you're trying to make that time for it, instead of saying, I don't have time to read, I don't have time to meditate, I don't have time to exercise, you know, I don't have time, if you just were to replace that and say, it's just not that important to me. Exercise is just not that important to me. Reading is just not that important to me. Personal development is just not that important to me. You'll start to see a shift, right? And so that's the very, very first trait of successful people do that unsuccessful people don't, is they wake up early. The second trait that successful people do that unsuccessful people do not is they read. And so the statistic that is in the podcast is that the average person, the average being like not successful, reads 1 to 2 books a year. Now, the average CEO who's already incredibly successful reads 60 books a year, 60. It's like 5 books a month, right? If I'm doing my math right. And so the first person I actually thought about on this, when I was like going through the notes for tonight, was Jessica Ragner, who's clearly very successful and I love so much. But I remember in the middle of the build and she was like, I just want to relax and read. And I was like, what? And at the same time, early on, I remember being so impressed with Jessica's vocabulary. Like she would say things, I'm like, man, people on the East Coast are smart. Like who talks like that? You know, and she just has this like really robust vocabulary. My stepmom is like that. And so part of it can be personal development. Part of it can be sales books. Part of it can be industry books, but it can be fiction. It can be nonfiction. It's things that grow you and grow your business. But if you're not reading, you're not growing. And the most successful people are reading. And so I am not someone who loves to just sit down and read. I'm going to be straight up, right? I get a little distracted. I would rather listen to a podcast, but I committed many moons ago from something I heard from Jimmy Smith to I can read 10 pages a day, right? And so like Stephanie Dunn and I were accountability partners at the beginning of the year, and we would like text each other. We did a book every single month for like the first 11 months of the year, right? We had read Kathy Coover's book together. We read, oh my gosh, I can't remember some of the different ones in the leadership, different things on personal development, some stuff that was fun, some stuff that was health and wellness. We read a book and I said, I can read 10 pages at a time. And one of the things I did in my morning ritual when I got up early, I would write out my goals. I would, do my intention statements and I would read. And it shifted so many things. And so just ask yourself, like, how many books have you read this year? And are you closer to 1 or 2, or are you closer to 60, right? I mean, we're probably all somewhere in the middle because there's a lot of leaders and highly successful people on here. But I would encourage you to do it. And so as we start to go into 2022, right, map it out. Like, what can you be reading? What could you be putting into your brain? And just remember that as we age, right, neuroplasticity is real. And we start to get really accustomed to things we do. And one of the ways to keep our brain really active and reverse aging again is to be reading, to really, really be challenging ourselves. So the third thing that successful people do that unsuccessful people don't is they exercise consistently. Successful people have a routine of working out. It's often in the morning. So we know that exercise has incredible mental benefits in terms of reducing stress and reducing anxiety. We know that exercise boosts confidence. But one of the things that is often not talked about, and I'll share with you because my background in fitness, is you become very inspirational when you exercise. So when you exercise, you're creating endorphins, right? You're triggering on parts of your brain that are normally activated during fight or flight. It's a survival, right? So our brains don't know I'm on the Peloton running really fast to Adrian Williams, right? My brain is like, oh my gosh, you're running from a bear. I have to make sure that you don't die right now. And because you're in that survival, sympathetic fight or flight mode, your brain gets really creative. It thinks of new ways. And have you ever experienced in the middle of a workout, like the most innovative idea? Like all of a sudden you're like in the middle of your run, you're like, oh my gosh, that's the name of our 11-day shred. Or you start thinking of people you want to reach out to, or you forgot things you wanted to do. And I'm like in the middle of the sprints. I'm like, really? Really? That thought comes now? But it's a reason why it's happening. Like to the point now that like I have to carry my phone with me so I can type in my notes because I don't want to forget what happened because it was so spot on. So just think about right now, like how often are you working out? We're the health and wellness company. If you are not working out more days than not, right? Like this is something that's going to shift your business. It's going to absolutely shift the type of people that you attract in. It's going to shift your confidence on the people that you want to work with. It's going to shift your mood. It's going to shift your energy. So number 3 is exercise. Number 4, write your goals down. So all the reds on here, right? All the reds on here are like, oh, no problem. All the blues, all the yellows, all the whites, you're like, oh gosh, I'm already uncomfortable because we just like talked about that. But there was a study done with graduates from Harvard, and they were encouraged to write down the goals. And the results were that the 3% that wrote down their goals, they were 10 times more successful than the 97% of people who didn't combine. Like, what? Like that alone should make you just want to write down your goals. You're already going to be further along than the people who are not. But I know for myself personally that when I learned about the focus laws, what you focus on, you find. What you focus on grows. What you focus on, you believe, right? And what you focus on, you become. And when I started to realize that, and I said, if I write things down, it makes it real. Now, one of the reasons that Mexico, the qualifications, why so many people earned it, is it was so clear. Sometimes the contest with isogenics in the years past, no one knew how to get there. It was like, how many points? What am I doing? And like, you just hope that you worked hard enough to get there. This was so simple. 5 enrollments, 4 consultants, 1 manager. Everybody knew what to do. Everybody had their little tracker, right, of what they were filling in. Look how many freaking people earned it. If you look at the other 10 months out of the year, when was the last time that many associates in a 6-week period had 5 enrollments, 4 consultants, and a manager? It's not because the skill set changed. It's because people wrote it down and they were focused on it. So when I'm writing down, like, these are my cycles at the end of the week. These are the people that I'm enrolling. These are the people that I want to rank advance. It's because you're so focused on it. And if you're not writing that down, then everything's so vague, right? You have these thoughts kind of jumbling around. There's no plan. You have absolutely no idea of what you're going to do. And it ultimately doesn't happen. So I was on a call with a woman today, and one of the things she told me was how much she had to make it worth her while. So I always ask that question, right? She said, okay, $2,000 a month. I said, okay. It's $500 a week, right? And you start to deduct back on what it is. So her goal is $2,000. Right now she's making $0 or $54 a week. Like, that's a big stretch. But here's the goal, is $2,000. So I break it down. Okay, $500 a week. Here's all the different ways we can get there. How much time do you have to do this? This is what you're going to do in the blocks of your time. And when you map it out, suddenly we got off the call and she's like, I can do this. I'm like, yes, you can, because you have a plan. And if you have a plan, you can take action. But if you don't know what the plan is, what are you going to take action on? So freaking write your goals down, starting right now. And I challenged my girls when we were at dinner the last night in Mexico to tell me what their goals were before NYKO. And we have a thread, and I had them tell me verbally, and then I had them type them into our accountability thread. So they had to write it out themselves, because I know what happens when you write down your goals, right? There's so many studies behind it. But one of the things that I said is I've been a top leader in action the whole year for the company, and my goal is top 5. And Holly, race is on, baby. We got like 6 weeks left, but I was like, I'm going to Cabo top 5. Like, I declared it. So I know what I have to do in December and January. So I'm enrolling a minimum of 15 people before we get to NYKO. I'm like, we got 3 weeks. It's like 4 to 5 enrollments a week where I have to go right now. But I have it mapped out in my head, right? So I asked them, and they're like, okay, I'm a crystal manager, and I'm getting double pibs every week before NYKO. One girl's like, I'm crystal director, I'm getting double pibs. One of the girls like, I'm hitting 4-star. She's getting that 4-star bonus. I'm like, sell it to her, baby, let's go. They're written down. It makes it incredibly real. So I encourage you guys, seriously, in the chat, write down where you're going to be and what the heck you are doing before NYKO. Change your lanyard, change the rank of somebody in your team's lanyard, but get committed and write it down. Number 5, this is one of my favorites. Find mentors. So it said the average millionaire has 7 types of mentors. So this was one of the things that was like, okay, technically I'm a millionaire, right? Like, that's a weird thing to still say out loud. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have my book coach, I have my speaking coach, I had a life coach, right? I had Janny, I have Kathy Coover, I have Jessica Ragner. I'm like, oh my God, I totally have mentors. The average millionaire has 7 mentors. So think about, some of us on this call are mentors to you. People crossline, upline, downline, and other companies and other teams and other podcasts are probably mentors to you. But one of the things that he talks about in the podcast is the value of a paid mentor. And not only because you will take it more seriously, but they actually take it more seriously. So I hope that I add value to people, like when I'm put on the spot in a bikini to answer questions about what I say to people. However, if someone was actually paying me, right, and like I'm basing a business on referrals on how successful I make them, think about how much more effort I'm going to put into that, how organized it's going to be, how clear the delivery is going to be. In the same way, if you pay for it, you guys, I always was like, I'm going to do a TED Talk. Like in my head, I was like, I'm going to be a TEDx speaker. I'm going to do a TED Talk. Do you know how many times I said that with no plan, no clue how to freaking do it? I bought like a random book. It's on this shelf. I would watch things on YouTube. I had no idea what I was doing. And when I finally was like, I'm going to give this talk and I know what it's about, and I hired a coach, very rarely do people like apply once and get it once. And that's not because of me. That's because I hired a coach. I hired someone that had done it and I knew exactly what to do. So if you're in a place in your business right now and you're like, how do I get a little bit better? Isagenix has the best training, right? We have the best training out there, and you don't need to invest in a lot. But I would be lying if I said I'm not who I am today because of mentors I've paid for. I would still be single. Like, without a doubt, my life coach transformed my heart that I was able to attract in the man that I got married to. I think that there's a lot of value in this. I think about all of the events, the personal growth stuff that I've attended outside of Isagenix. I saw Lisa Nichols. I saw Les Brown. I saw Tony Robbins. We went to, Jessica Ragner and I went to the 6 and 7 figure summit for Eric Worre, and those are all super, super important things that are going to aid in your growth. So number 6 thing that successful people do that unsuccessful people do not is positive self-talk. You guys, this one's a big one. So some of the most successful people are incredibly humble, incredibly kind, but they're also incredibly confident. And it's how they talk to themselves. And it's how they talk to themselves even when they're not getting the results they want at the time. So you have to think about what you would say to one of your closest friends, what you would say to a child. And the way that you would talk to them is how you need to talk to yourself. One of my friends wrote a song and there's lyrics in it. And he says that we say the things to ourselves that we wouldn't say to nobody else, like how cruel they are. And I have been in that place, especially with my physical body. I mean, I remember times of getting out of the shower and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I am so mean to myself. Like I said the most horrific things to myself in like the first 10 minutes of the day, just trying to like get out of a towel and into the clothes because I wasn't confident in my skin. I would never say those things to anybody. Like, why would you say them to yourselves? And so when you think about how you're showing up, before you post something, before you reach out to something, before you follow up to somebody, what's that noise in the head? What's the drunken monkey happening? This has a lot to do with how your business is going to show up to you. So I have a question for you. What part of your self-talk needs improving? And that might be with your finances and your money blueprint. Part of that self-talk might need to be with your physical body. Part of that might needs to be with your belief in the industry. Part of this needs to be with who you are as a leader, who this is as a wife, as a mom, as a daughter, as a friend. Like what area can you start to improve, right? So you're not going to shift the whole needle from 0 to 100 overnight. But imagine if you could start to catch yourself, right? When you could just like catch yourself. Wayne Dyer wrote a book, I Can Think Clearly Now. And he talked about your brain was like a conveyor belt of thoughts. We can't necessarily not have thoughts, right? They're going to come, but how quickly can you put it back and be like, nope, I don't want that one, and pick up the new thought on the conveyor belt? You know, when I start to like catch myself on the body talk, you know, I'm like, no, that one's not going there, you know? And I'm like, thank you, God, for a very healthy body. Thank you for being the Energizer Bunny you are. Like you just swap it out, you know? If I'm like, oh my gosh, why are my cycles not like so-and-so cycles? No. That thought goes right back, you know, and I pick up. I'm so thankful and grateful for a freedom lifestyle. I'm so thankful and grateful for the most amazing friends. And I'm so thankful and grateful for the people who haven't even arrived into my business yet. I mean, it's so fast to change it, but all of those thoughts is the energy you put out. That's the vibration, and it has everything to do with who you're reaching and who is reaching you. Number seven, what successful people do that unsuccessful people do not is they do not worry about failure. So nobody starts a business, right? And just thinks they're going to knock it out of the park, right? Out of the gates. Nobody, right? And I believe this, and you hear it over and over, like the only way to failure is to give up. That's the only way. If you don't give up, you are not failing, okay? And we learn the most from our lessons. If you guys were to look at like athlete statistics, like the amount of times a baseball player strikes out, like that's actually really frustrating. If you were to just look at that, you're like, wow, this is how many strikeouts to the home run. Nobody focuses on that. That's how they get to be the best of the best. Like, what does Wayne Dyer say? Like, you only miss the shots you don't take, but how many gazillion shots did he take that he didn't get in order to become like the #1 player of all time? And the thing is, it's the thought process around the failure, right? It's not that you suck. It's not that you're bad. It's not that you don't know what you're doing, right? But the key to overcoming it is you have to be resilient. Like that is something that successful people have, is they can't get knocked out. They can't get knocked down. You know, it's like you get knocked down, you get up again. You're like, all right, I got to go. I got to learn. Like, thank you so much for teaching me that. Thank you so much for making me better. Thank you for pushing me up against the wall into my uncomfort zone, that I grew, that I transformed, that I became a better person. But it's the mindset around it of like, I'm not doing this well enough. I suck. I'm never going to be good enough. I should throw in the towel, right? It's like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. Okay, what do I have to learn? What do I have to read? What goals do I have to write down? What mentor do I have to have in order to become the person that you truly, truly embody? So I'll recap them, and I promise you guys, I will send you the podcast for anybody that wants it. I'll make sure the leaders get it and they can put it out to the groups and the threads. But the 7 things that successful people do that unsuccessful people don't is they wake up early, they read, they exercise consistently, they write their goals down, they find mentors and paid mentors, they have positive self-talk, and they don't worry about failure. And so I'm going to leave you with this, you guys. It is not something that just happens in one day. So if tomorrow morning you wake up early, right, and you read and you exercise and you write your goals down and you reach out to your upline for a little bit of support and you do your affirmations, right, and you're like, okay, now I'm going to reach out to someone on my chicken list and they don't enroll with me, it's okay. Right? By Sunday, if you don't have double PIVs and your cycles haven't increased, you know, by 5 or whatever it is, you can't stop. This is what you do over and over and over and over and over and over. One of my favorite calls that Adrienne McGovern did, you know, in the beginning of the year, and one of like her comeback calls, was she was talking about how you do the things you don't always want to do because that's how you get successful. Do you know how many days I really don't want to post on social media? Like I would rather just comment and scroll and like on everyone else's, but I'm like, man, I got to keep my lights on in my own store. Like I've got to post, you know, that is something I do consistently. Do you know how many people have reached out to me over 8 years? Because they're like, I see that you do this. I've seen that you've done this. You've been so consistent with doing this. That's part of it, right? Do you know how many times late at night, you guys, we're done with these calls at 8 o'clock, I have to go cook dinner for my family, right? We eat at like 9 o'clock on a Monday. Then I'm like, I really just want to eat boxed mac and cheese and chicken fingers, right? Like that sounds like a great plan right now. The last thing I want to go do is like julienne kale and put lemon zest on it. But you know what I feel a lot better in? A size 6 jeans and size 12 jeans. So over time, over and over and over, and I'm like, no, that is not going to do you service. These are the things that are going to do you service. Do you know how disciplined it is to choose to listen to a podcast than music when I get ready? And I have been doing that for 8 years, because when I look at my paychecks on Monday and I'm so grateful that I don't work for a boss anymore and I get to do this, I remind myself of that almost every day. And I get in the shower, I'm like, oh, they're not going to know if I don't listen to the podcast today. And I really want to listen to Christmas music. And I'm like, nope. And I do it, and I'm disciplined, and I've conditioned myself to do those things. And so just remind yourself, it's not about perfection, but it's about showing up. It's about doing them over and over and over. It's these tiny little activities. It's the tiny little traits. It's the sum of everything you do day in and day out, cumulatively, which will lead to the path that you want to be on. You guys are amazing. We have calls next week. We have an amazing, amazing guest speaker. If you guys know Amanda Stetson, she's our guest speaker next week. We told you we're going to give you the little premiere launch. What did Jessica call it? A sneak preview, something like that. So we have a call on 12/27. We've got calls, you know, January 3rd. We are rolling straight through because we're fired up. We are going to be teaching you how to drop in Celatwell. We're going to be teaching you how to take pre-orders. We're going to be keeping you fired up on how to share the gift packs that are out there. There is no breaks, because we are debunking that Q4 is slowing down, right? Q4 is going to be record high for Team Win and for Dreamers in Action, that everybody in the company is going to go, what the frick are you guys doing that you had so many rank advancements and enrollments in December? We love you guys. Have a great night. Thank you so much.